Recording in progress.
Okay. I would like to call to order the meeting of the Public Safety Committee for Thursday, April 20th, 2023. Welcome to everybody who's here. I note that, let's see, Ann Koreman is here with us on Zoom as she's recovering from a small procedure, surgical procedure, and that has been deemed qualifying that she can appear by Zoom today. She does not count towards quorum, but we have quorum, so that's not an issue. She is able to vote. And we've been informed that Lee Shurtleff has another matter he's coming from. He'll be a few minutes late, but I propose that we proceed in any event. So welcome, everybody. First item of business is public comment. And I think we do have somebody who wishes to make public comment. Just if I could ask you, you're familiar with the rules on the blue sheet?
Yes.
And you agree to abide by them?
Yes.
And if you could just give us your name and where you live, and you get 3 minutes.
All right. My name is Tali Mugambi. I do live in Tompkins County, Ellis Hollow. I'm the director of the Ultimate Reentry Opportunity Initiative, which many of you guys know. And so I'm here today because our organization is launching a community book read of Resma Menackem's My Grandmother's Hand. I'll go ahead and hand that to you, and I'll give the rest of you guys a copy. But as you guys know, URO was brought into existence to facilitate systemic change as it pertains to reentry and criminal justice. And this particular book, My Grandmother's Hand, is really focused on how we work through and navigate trauma that is within the bodies of many of the people who are impacted in the criminal justice system. And what we see in terms of what's going on with the residents of the Sunflower House as we conduct interviews. We recognize the prevalence and the impact of trauma on this segment of our community. We also recognize that without the proper protocol and procedure, whether it's in our education system or within our justice system, we are not truly recognizing the impact of that. And so this is our attempt to really engage the community, necessary stakeholders such as yourselves here and those that are on the call to be a part of this community book read and engage in ways in which we can find common ground. We can facilitate community healing. So this is also going to be part of the Reimagining policing healing aspect of that initiative. And so we're really asking as many people who can possibly attend this call and be part of a wave of change in this community where we're recognizing and we're then developing procedure, whether it's in our education system or in our justice system, that recognizes it and then has an adequate response to address the impact of trauma in our community. And so I just wanted to put that to folks. I know some folks on the call there are aware of the book read. I can send Rich, John, I can send you a link as soon as I get back to the office so folks can register for the book read. It is going to be a 15-month process. We'll cover 2 chapters at a time. And many folks are like, well, why 15? You know, it's a long time. Well, healing takes a while to do, right? And so we want to engage, give people an opportunity to absorb the information, partner with someone in the community where they can converse about the ways in which we are getting in touch with our bodies ourselves, ways in which we are healing ourselves, and then we can recognize that in the folks who we serve, who we represent, and then ultimately foster a healing community. So if you guys have any questions, I can answer any questions or and be about my married way.
Actually, I have 2 other items I'd like to just mention. One is to say thank you to URO. I know that URO is going to act as the host for 2 focus groups for the the jail task force to meet with people who've had experience in our jail. And that'll be an important part of our process. So thank you. The other is, if I'd ask the question whether you'd be interested in coming in together with somebody perhaps from OAR to talk about the status and the experience with Sunflower House, and from OAR for Endeavor House. We've had OAR here before, but not in some time, and I think it would be useful to hear.
Yes, most definitely. And just so this body knows, right, we are working on an initiative to, I guess, create this narrative of housing is healthcare. And so that's what we're kind of learning as we come into this process. Also, one thing that I did forget is that next Saturday, we will be in the library from 12 to 2 p.m. To give out books for folks who are interested in picking up a book, and I'll deliver a book to each of you today. When you say next Saturday, is that 2 days from now, or 9 days following Saturday? 9 days. I forget. Yeah, 9 days from now. I forget the exact date on it, but we'll be in the Borg Warner Room West. So that'll be the 29th. Yes, exactly. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, guys. All right. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the Public Safety Committee? I don't see anybody in the room, but is there anybody online? No. Okay. And I see Lee has joined us. Welcome. Are there any changes to the agenda? And seeing none, thank you. Okay. We have minutes from our meeting of March 16th, 2023. Could I get a motion on the minutes? Veronica moves. Annie seconds. Any questions or comments on the minutes? All right. Because Annie's remote, I'm going to call it by roll. Annie? Yes. Mike? Yes. Lee? Yes. Veronica?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. Chair's report, or I'm sorry, appointments. We do have appointments. Just pull those out. We have Greg Harrington to EROC and Stacy Cangelosi Mike to the CJATI board. Could I get a motion to approve those appointments? Veronica moves, Lee seconds. Any comment, questions? All right, I'll call the roll. Annie? Yes. Mike? Yes. Lee? Yes. And Veronica?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So those are approved. Thank you to those people for stepping up. Chair's report. I would just mention that the jail task force has had its initial meeting. We had a very good discussion, I thought. And as you just heard a few minutes ago, we are going to have 2 focus groups to allow members of the jail task force to listen to people from the community who have been incarcerated in the jail. I believe those are at OAR or at URO on 502 West State Street on the 26th, so next Tuesday at 4:30, and then on Thursday at 4:30. Is that Wednesday and Friday? Sorry, Wednesday and Friday, the 26th and the 28th. But that's a Wednesday and a Friday. And the time is right, correct? 4:30?
11:30 to 1 is what I thought.
Yes, 11:30. See, I'm glad I checked. Okay. And that's Chair's report. County Administration, we have Bridget Nugent. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Just a couple quick things from the Community Justice Center. So the newly formed advisory board of the Community Justice Center is seeking applications from impacted community members. That application can be found on our website or by contacting the Community Justice Center directly, Mona Lita Smiley. And for the May 2nd legislature meeting, Mona Lita will be coming with an update on the progress of the CJC and the various working groups. And we also have a resolution related to the Community Justice Center funding. Did we want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, this is resolution amending resolution number 38 of 2023, appropriation from contingent fund to implement 2022 work plan of the Community Justice Center, ID 11568. And could I get a motion on that? Lee moves, Veronica seconds. Thank you. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, this is just, I believe it already went through BCP as well, but this is just to address an administrative error in the amount of funding that was allocated for the 2022 implementation of the CJC's work plan. So this is just amending that error, reducing the amount coming from contingency. And you'll see here the other local government revenue amounts are the amounts we get from our partnership with the city.
And that's the differential.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments? Are we ready to vote? Annie?
Yes.
Mike? Lee?
Yes.
Veronica?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. Anything else from county administration? Oh, that was quick. We have our sheriff's report, and I see our sheriff is with us, and our undersheriff. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Rich. Hi, everybody. Just a few things I'll go over quickly. We've spent the last couple days this week in mediation for our contract negotiations with corrections. Working on that. I know it's been a long time coming. We have one more session to get through, which probably won't be scheduled until June, and hopefully we'll have some kind of positive resolution come from that. Myself and several others on this meeting are still working to try to make something happen with GIVEX, the gun elimination, I can't remember what it stands for, gun violence elimination grant funds.
Gun-involved violence elimination.
Thank you. I was frantically looking that up before you called on me, and I didn't have enough time. So anyways, but we're still working on that. We're under a severe time crunch, as you know. The funds were initially kind of earmarked for city involvement, but it's looking like that's not going to happen. So we're trying to resurrect this grant and do something with it. So hopefully soon we'll have more information to share with this committee. Myself and others on the meeting as well are also continuing to work on our domestic terrorism response plan that came to us via executive order from the governor. We have a meeting on that tomorrow. We also continue and have a meeting on tomorrow for our county's officer wellness plan as part of Reimagination, so we look forward to moving forward with that. We had 2 more correction officers start this past Monday, which is really good news. We continue to see people apply, and it's been a little slow moving. As you know, it takes us some time to do background investigations and get them onboarded and then trained before we can use them. With the 2 that started Monday, we still have 6 openings. So we're moving in a positive direction, but it is taking some time. As of today, our inmate count was at 64. So we're still a little higher than we have been. I'm still not concerned about it myself. I know we have at least 3 that have been there, I think, since January, waiting for beds at mental health facilities. So hopefully we'll have them transferred to a more appropriate place soon. So if you took those out, we'd really just be, you know, about 61. So I still don't think that's anything too concerning. That's all I have.
Okay. I am curious, how many, if you can tell us, are waiting for trial? Because I know there's quite a backlog of scheduled trials all the way through September. And that's probably contributing to that number, I would assume.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know offhand the exact number. Matt, do you know by chance?
I don't know the exact number, but I know it's probably half a dozen.
Okay. So not a good proportion, like 10% of the current population. All right.
Yeah.
Questions for the sheriff? I had one. I was looking at your report, and it does seem like board-out costs are starting to be a real number. We've been pretty fortunate in avoiding board-out expense, but because we are putting some in neighboring jails. But the report on it says board-out cost excluding mental health. And I know that we pay if we've got somebody who needs to go to a state mental health facility. Where is that dollar figure tracked?
If somebody's boarded at a state mental health facility?
Yeah, because that gets charged back to the county, doesn't it?
I believe that goes to whole health.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jen.
Yeah, it's accounted for in our budget as a mandate line.
Okay. I don't know if anybody else would be interested, but I'm curious what we're spending on that on an ongoing basis. Do you have any sense of that, Frank?
The actual dollar value, I don't. I know that we've seen kind of some significant increases over the last, I want to say 5 or 6 years. It tailored off a little bit during COVID, but it's starting to creep back up again. So we've been holding the budget line pretty steady and then coming for contingent if we need to at the end of the year. It's been the practice in the past. I can get you the actual number.
I don't think we need it right now, or at least I'm not that interested in seeing it now, just as long as we could do an analysis. I'm very curious when we get the Crisis Stabilization Center open and running, if we're going to see a reduction in that expense, that we're going to be able to help people before they get to the point that they're needing that kind of attention. But since we don't have any new data, I'm not sure we need to look at it yet, but down the line.
I mean, maybe we can come up with a way to, work with Frank and his team to track that. And, I don't think he routinely reports to public safety. So if we can somehow capture that information in our report as well, if that's easier, maybe we can figure something out.
Sure, if there's a way to do that. I certainly don't want to add a lot of work. And it really is a question that'll come up once we have the Crisis Stabilization Center operational.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
One trend I was just going to comment on, because I think that does contribute to the board out costs and our numbers, is we've seen an unprecedented amount of female inmates, currently at 14, which is probably the highest we've seen in probably a decade, according to people who've been there longer than I have. And our facility is not meant to house more than 8 females at most. So a lot of the board outs, unfortunately, are female inmates just because the facility isn't constructed that way. So that might be a potential consideration for the jail task force.
Thank you. I think that's important information. Do you have any sense what's driving that?
I do not. I wish I did, but I do not. And some of the medical expenses, because there's at least one that is pregnant, and we have to provide the necessary medical treatment. So that comes with a cost as well.
Yeah, Jen and I were having that very same discussion this morning, why we were seeing such a dramatic increase in female inmates, and we weren't able to make heads or tails of it, to be quite honest with you. If it's just another one of those glitches or flukes, I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay. And I'm curious, where are we boarding out to? Is it Cortland or are we going somewhere else?
I'm sorry.
We're going all over. No, Cortland is not currently taking board-ins. They are down 17 corrections officers. So we are going all over Tioga, sometimes Herkimer County, and places are only saying, okay, we can only take 1. So we're driving all ends of the state to be able to accommodate these board outs, because other correctional facilities are also seeing staffing limitations. So we're having a really hard time.
Okay. Yeah, as you said, I think that would be very important for the jail task force to get a sense of what's going on right now. Okay. All right, anything? Mike?
One quick question. Sheriff Osborne, you said that the GIVE program was, you were trying to resurrect it. Does that mean it's dead, or was that just a way of phrasing it?
That was clearly just a way of phrasing it, Mike. I meant that in light of the fact that the grantees or the grantors were anticipating or hopeful for city involvement. Since we were hearing that they were not participating in that, we are trying to step in as the sheriff's office or the county to try to still obtain those grant funds and work towards eliminating some of this gun violence that we've been seeing lately.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
And as we've said at prior meetings, thank you to the sheriff, the DA, and probation for pushing this. You know, this is obviously a state priority, and it's something we do not want to miss out on. So yes, please keep pushing. If there's anything we can do to help from our direction, let us know.
I'll certainly keep you in the loop. We all will.
Okay, anything else from the sheriff? All right, next up is Department of Emergency Response, I believe. Or no, District Attorney, I apologize. You're next on the batting order. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Rich. I think probably the word resuscitate might be better than resurrect.
Okay.
So
Tomato, tomato.
I took a look at the jail roster while we were talking, and it looks like, by my estimate, there's about 9 people who are waiting for trial right now. There are several who are waiting to be sent, who are state ready, who have been recently sentenced. So, and the 14 females, I can't really give you an explanation. There are several who are waiting to go to treatment facilities as part of drug court. But there's really no pattern or connection to that number.
Have we seen any uptick in arrests or the treatment by the court system to sending people to our jail? Or is it just, this is statistically the way it's working out?
The arrest numbers through to date in 2023 are probably 25% higher than we were last year.
Okay, so that would,
I think that, you know, there is a percentage of those that would end up in jail for things like gun charges or violent felonies. So the overall percentage is higher, and therefore the numbers in jail are higher. That's, I think, a trend across the country, is that there's more arrests being made across the country. But I'll have probably a lot more specific information about that coming soon, because I'm hiring a data analyst. I did the interviews and have somebody that is going to start in the next month. So I'm really happy about that, and that's big news for us. I'll be able to take a lot of the data that I've been collecting and organize it and dissect it and separate out pieces of it to be able to look at trends and analyze much more carefully what's happening here in much more detail in the county. So that's the big news from my point of view.
that's very encouraging. Are there any questions or comments for our district attorney? No? All good. All right. Well, thank you for that, Matt. And I guess that makes sense. If there's more arrests, we're going to see more people in our jail. It would be very interesting to understand what's perhaps driving that. But Mike.
Matt, just, you probably haven't yet because it just came out yesterday. Have you gotten a chance to look at the city's homeless policy? Did I miss that? All right. I didn't think, I mean, it literally happened. I think last night. I'm not sure about that, but.
We don't prosecute homelessness.
No, I know, but it was my understanding they're going to not allow camping in certain areas. So I don't know how that's going to get handled. So.
I mean, frankly, I think I've said before, you know, we're not going to be able to prosecute the trespassing charges that might come out of the, you know, illegal camping. Right. You know, if crimes happen in the encampments, then we'll prosecute those. And it's very difficult to do that, but we do it for violent crimes and for sex offenses and for things that relate to public safety directly.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Matt. Next up is Department of Emergency Response. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Rich. Good afternoon, everybody. I don't have anything particular today, Rich, but I was going to ask my colleague, Joe Milliman, to just speak to us a little bit about some of the progress he's made in working within the EMS community during his first month, if that's okay.
That would be great.
Joe?
So April 7th, we had our kickoff meeting with our steering committee. We have 19 members of various stakeholders in EMS throughout the county, different levels that are on that committee. So that meeting went very well. We had some pretty informative discussions, and it seems like everybody's kind of on board with continuing with that committee. I've created a partnership with Hugo Medical Center in SUNY Upstate. We're looking to bring some EMS classes back into Tompkins County, particularly at the paramedic level. Currently, anybody looking to take a paramedic class travels roughly about an hour away for the night of the class. So we're looking to kind of bring that a little bit closer. It'll be satellite programs. We're still kind of waiting on the contracts and the final say on that. So there's more to come on that. We are looking to start a continuous quality improvement committee with all of the EMS agencies across the county, and we're hoping to unify and improve the care that is received pre-hospitally here in Tompkins County. I'm also working with Pat from Whole Health, Pat Mason. We are trying to kick off a critical incident stress management team. It's a team of individuals that go out to meet with first responders after severe incidences that might be stressful, may cause some burnout, and try to help them work through some emotions and thoughts and that kind of thing. So we're in the very, very early stages of discussion with that and how we get that kicked off. But there seems to be a lot of interest from some of the EMS leaders, as well as some people from Whole Health. Next big steps for us, we're looking at doing some data analysis and finding ways to explore some shared service initiatives within Tompkins County, within EMS to hopefully help improve some of our responses. And that's about all that I have.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Lee?
Just my feedback, you're off to a great start, Joe. Thanks for the report. Thanks, Mike, for bringing him forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is really good news. I know we're having our budget retreat next week, and we're trying to modify our budget program to do a better job of anticipating where we may be spending money in the next year in 2024. And this seems like an area that is going to see some real change in what our budget looks like. But I don't see how we can do any realistic estimates in the time frame we were talking about. I think we just have to be aware of it, that this potential expense is going to evolve as the year goes forward. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair, Rich. And, you know, when some of the shared service discussions that we're having with community-based services, if it works out, then that could have an impact in what I would consider to be in a positive way. And it's still a little too early to really go into the details of that, but we do have several agencies that are interested in furthering some discussion as, you know, based on some recommendations that came out of our kickoff meeting.
And I did have a couple questions. Let's
Sure.
see. One was you're reporting on the project, the backup center project and its
Yes.
progress. I was wondering, what's the present timetable on getting that operational, do you think?
It's really difficult to say. We did run into an issue with the location where we had to apply for a variance. So we're working with Cornell right now to finalize the details of that variance application. But that aside, we're still running into some pretty significant supply chain issues. So likely we won't have the ability to continue with the project. But when I say the project, the actual physical work at the backup center, but we're continuing to work on what I would consider to be our broader backup center project with, you know, updating our radio system, updating our computer systems here at the 911 center, preparing for the renovation space here. So there are things that are still happening in the scope of the broader project, but with regards to actually having the physical space as an alternative to the Brown Road location, we're likely not going to see any real traction on that, probably to the fall. Right now, we're hoping that we're going to be able to go before the variance board in May. The application is complete and it is in the hands of our county legal team to just go over and make sure that it's properly aligned with our goals and missions here in Tompkins County. But we're working rather well with Cornell right now to move forward on that.
And that's the town of Ithaca?
Yes.
Thank you. My other question was on page 26 of the packet. You indicate roughly 60 people attended a Citizen Preparedness Corps training at the Danby Fire Station, and that you're going to be holding another one at Enfield Community Center on May 13th. And I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about the Citizen Preparedness Corps program? What does it do? And
Absolutely.
it seems like there's a lot of interest.
Yeah, and we've already had programs in other areas of the county. We did one in the city a few months ago, one in Lansing. It's a program that's run through the state National Guard in cooperation with the Department of Emergency Response at the State Office of Emergency Management. And it's really designed to teach our community, our citizens, on how to prepare for an emergency and for a disaster. Teaches them how to build a family plan, what equipment they should have in their homes to be prepared for a natural disaster. And at the conclusion of the program, they get a ready kit or a go kit that has some equipment in it that every family should have in their home, just in the event something unexpected were to occur. Jeff Dunn is our lead on that here in the Department of Emergency Response. He's doing a great job. We've had some great attendance, and the feedback has been phenomenal, and we're going to continue to run those throughout the county.
Do people need to register to attend?
They do, and there is a website. I can provide that to you, Rich, if you'd like it, but there is a way to sign up online through the state. Would you like the link for that?
Well, actually, what I'd like to be able to do is, as these get scheduled, I would raise them at legislator privilege of the floor.
Okay.
To just publicize them a little bit from this direction, because I think they're a great idea.
Absolutely. So I'll mention that to Jeff and make sure that he is able to make sure we have everything needed in order to do that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Department of Emergency Response? All right. Keep doing your good work then. All right. And let's keep moving. Next up is Department of Probation and Community Justice. And I see Dan is with us and Carla. And by the way, Jessica, welcome. I didn't see your name there, but yes. Okay, Dan.
Good afternoon. Not a lot to update. There is some legislation being proposed in front of the state Senate about eliminating probation's ability to collect fees. Currently, we have the local law that allows us to collect a supervision fee ranging from $5 to $30 for DWI clients only. We don't collect a supervision fee on anyone else. But also, if this bill passes, would eliminate our ability to collect a 5% surcharge on the restitution fees that we collect. Both the supervision fee and the restitution surcharge stay locally and help us fund a little bit of our activities. It doesn't amount to a lot of money for us, but there are many counties in the state that have positions attached to the funding. And if the funding is, if the legislation is passed by the Senate and the Assembly, we will not be able to collect fees of any kind from anyone. That includes drug testing fees, fees associated with our technology monitoring. It's been suggested by Counsel Probation Administrators that counties ask their legislatures to consider sending a letter in opposition to the state. I have a sample letter that I could provide to you if you're interested in considering that.
How much money are we talking about?
Around $45,000.
I guess I'd like to get a sense from the committee members about writing a letter. Veronica?
Thanks. So are these fees that are paid by the people who are on probation?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're on probation in Tompkins County for DWI, there's a local law that allows us to collect $5 up to $30, depending on the person's income. We do a sliding scale. And a 5% surcharge on all restitution that we collect to cover our administrative time and efforts. And then, of course, we charge $7 a piece for drug tests, which could impact anyone on probation, not just DWI clients. And for technology monitoring, that could be white-collar crime. It could be sex offenders. If they're ordered to be on technology monitoring, that's about $30 a month. I'm not sure how it will impact ignition interlock fees, but those are paid by the defendants currently, but we don't get that money. It goes directly to the companies that provide the service.
Hey, Annie, or did you have any follow-up, Veronica?
Yeah, so the DWI fees, is that like once or per month or what?
That's a monthly fee, yes.
Okay.
So if you make over $30,000 a year, we charge you $30. If you make 25,000 or less, we charge you 25, or 25, between 25 and 30, $5 for people that don't have significant income. So.
Okay, thank you. I'm not like prepared to commit to an opinion on a letter or not now, but it does seem like it could make sense to not charge people fees for participating in programs that presumably they're not opting into, but are mandated for them. And
well, I understand that, but if we don't collect fees from the individuals who are on supervision, that fee has to be added to our budget because we currently don't have the funds to set aside to cover those expenses.
sure, that makes sense. 45,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but.
Okay, Annie.
Are these fees just for folks that have had DWIs?
The DWI supervision fee is specific to DWIs. Anyone, you could be on for any type of offense and still be charged for the restitution surcharge if restitution was ordered. We drug test anyone who has drug testing conditions, so that is independent of conviction type. And
so the 5% is over all of the I don't want to say services, but all of the items you mentioned?
yeah, if you had $100 in restitution, we would collect $105 over the course of the collection.
And monitoring, and when Veronica asked about monthly, so that's the monthly monitoring fees? I'm not sure what monthly DWI fee would be.
So every month, a person on DWI supervision would be charged somewhere between $5 and $30.
Oh, okay, DWI supervision. Okay, and then I think my last question is, what's the time sensitivity on this? Could it be something that could be brought as a resolution the next meeting, or is that too late?
No, I think in between now and the end of May, that would be fine. And I could provide a sample letter to anyone who's interested in seeing it tomorrow.
Lee?
Dan, this is also not just a matter of money, but it's also considered a deterrent, isn't it?
It's sort of one of the principles of accepting responsibility for your behavior is accepting responsibility for a portion of the costs that the taxpayers are forced to endure based upon your engagement in certain behaviors.
Do you put some of that toward interlock devices and those types of items?
Not currently. I can give you a breakdown of where those, what those funds are utilized for. But again, $45,000 does not cover a lot of expenses for us.
You know what? I'm sorry, Lee, were you done?
No.
I'm just curious, what is the rationale for the state to take this fee away from the counties and not pick it up themselves, by the way?
Well, that's a good point, Rich. Part of the ask of the letter is that if they are going to take away these fees, how are they going to then compensate the counties for the loss of revenue? Could you repeat the question? I lost myself in my other.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering what the state's rationale or the proponents of this legislation, why are they doing this, and why wouldn't they pick up that cost at the state, was the second part.
Remember the predatory lending fee bill that they attempted to pass last year as part of the budget, but didn't pass? This is a resurgence of that effort to try to take away financial obligations for people in the criminal justice system.
This hardly seems predatory. These are fairly small amounts, and I don't know why the taxpayers are the better place to go to pay these versus the people who've committed the crime.
I don't either, and it seems we're very conscientious of using the sliding scale so that people aren't unable to pay for the other things they need in life. If you make $30,000 a year, you're paying $360 a year for your probation supervision fees. If you don't have any income, you're paying $60. And again, that was all approved through the legislature, the county legislature, allowing us to make that collection for DWIs.
Okay. Well, is it the sense of the committee that we'd like to consider this at our May meeting? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dan. Yeah. Please bring the information to us, and we'll consider it and make a decision in May.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else? Any questions or comments for our probation department? We're flying through our meeting. Something's got to hang us up pretty quick, I anticipate.
We may have a lot of repercussions from state legislation and the state budget to talk about next month by the time they get through.
It does seem that there's
a royal mess.
It does seem like there's some significant changes coming at us from a lot of different directions, and we're going to hear from assigned counsel in a few minutes on another one of them. In fact, let's see, what are we up to? Yeah, in fact, Annie.
Yeah, can I just want to make clear that what we're asking Dan is to come back with a resolution or a letter? I prefer a resolution.
Either one. I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. Maybe, Dan, you could share the letter with us in the meantime, and I would assume the letter would serve as a basis for any kind of resolution.
Ann, are you anticipating this to go to the full body for a vote if it's a resolution, or something coming from the committee level?
I've just in the past experience, it's with a lot of different letters. It has to have individual members sign it, and that gets to be tricky. And then if it's not the full legislature, so I think working with the state that things usually sound better if they come from the committee and then go to the full legislature. It has more of a punch to it.
Happy to do it as a resolution.
Okay. Well, it may not get to the state legislature by June, or by the end of their session in early June. So there's a time element.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, Veronica.
I was just going to flag the same thing, that if it came to our next, looking at the calendar, if it came to our next Public Safety Committee meeting and then went to the full legislature, it'd be at the full legislature on June 6th. And I don't know if that's works for the timing.
You know what, maybe we could do is, Dan, I would be willing to work with you if we could do it before the next legislature meeting, and I'll introduce it as a member filed.
Thank you. I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. That way we'll meet the timing and it'll be a resolution.
Thanks, Rich.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Well, thanks for bringing that to our attention. The state helping us once again. And moving on, we have assigned counsel. We have Lance Salisbury with us. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Got a few things. I know Rich has asked me to give you an update on 18B rates, but first, in terms of our department, not a lot. We're busy with cases, caseload assignments, and attorneys working through that. We have a member of our staff is leaving. She leaves tomorrow, actually. Melissa Hall, our grants person, has taken a grants position at Cornell. So we'll be bringing someone new on board here on that. That's in terms of our department, that's about it.
Lance, before you get to the 18B information, I am curious if you had any comment on the spike in arrests, and you're seeing, I assume, the same thing, and if you had any thoughts on why that might be happening.
Not really. I mean, it may be, there have been some more gun crimes. I think one of the problems when you in the middle of a spike, it can be hard to determine, is this a more systemic long-term chain, or is this just a little, we get these little spikes and dips with arrests and patterns of behavior. So it's hard for me to say there's anything major going on here. It may just be a spike. You know, probably by the fall we'd have a better idea if what's going on here. You know, seems like an increase. There could be a couple of factors here, you know, in terms of the city. You know, it could be changes in policing habits. It can be a number of factors. So it's hard to say when you're in the middle of it saying, well, it's due to the X or due to Y. I think it's something, you know, keeping an eye on, and probably in the fall, we may be able to, you know, by then have a better idea, you know, what's going on. I'll look at our numbers. I mean, I'm tracking our numbers, and I'm looking at from January through March, you know, we have some increases, but the numbers overall don't seem dramatically different, like for felony arrests than 2022. I think the misdemeanor arrests are up. There may be, you know, felonies, if you're up 1 or 2 or something in a category, that could boost jail numbers or arrests, but I don't see dramatic spikes, you know, like we haven't gone from 5 B felony arrests in January to 20. Something like that would be, you know, really significant and worrying what's going on there, you know. So I guess that's a lot of verbiage to say I'm not sure.
Okay. You're allowed
Probably
to
should have
not
just said I'm not sure. Check back later on that.
Okay, that was.
A couple of other things. You might, in terms of your letter that you're talking about with Dan, in terms of these fees, a little background. I pick up from hearing other chief defenders and so forth in meetings. I think to Dan's credit, his department is pretty judicious in its use of fees, you know, that it charges. I think that bill's aimed at other areas of the state where they're essentially charging people to be on probation in terms of their use of fees. So it may be, you may have to do a little education with that letter or resolution, however you structure it. One of the things I've discovered is a lot of the rank and file members who, you know, maybe aren't as focused on criminal justice issues don't really get it or see the texture in a lot of these issues. You know, they'll say, well, fees are bad, and don't understand some fees may be bad. Other fees may have more usefulness to it. But just as an aside, and then I guess I could talk about 18B rates where we're at, and kind of in my email to you, I put a little caveat there that, you know, I've been in Albany and in meetings a lot the past couple of weeks, and right now they're in the 3-way talks, which are pretty shut down in terms of information flow. It's kind of the, you know, the leaders, the governor, the 2 legislative leaders, their core central legislative staff, you know, their key staff. And this year,
Lance, if I could just interrupt for a second, just for the benefit of anybody who didn't see your email, I think the proposal is $158 an hour. However, the state would pick it up the first year, but after the first year, it would get passed back to the counties.
Right.
Okay.
That's the latest. And then I was kind of prefacing to that because so information seeps out, but they're trying to keep a tight lid on what they're talking about in different, like right now, I think housing is taking a lot of the air, but Rich, you're correct. That's the latest I heard yesterday. That seems to be the proposal in place. One set rate with, as you said, the state paying the cost. In part of the background of that, apparently NISAC was a little, when they came forward with that, mollified, I'm not sure of the correct phrase, because at that point, the understanding was the governor was not going to take the county's Medicaid money. Well, now, you know, she's apparently decided the state is going to take that money. So I'm not sure how that's going to change. You know, it could all change. It's happened, you know, last year that rate was in the budget, and then the last night got pulled out. So that is what the current indicator is, with the caveat that may change by the time they sign the final budget. But that does seem to be where they're going. The expectation is if they stick that in there in terms of the county responsibility, there may be litigation about that, and there'll probably be strong efforts with at least the legislature next year to come back and try to redirect that to the state. I mean, I think you all may be aware of, but one of the things we've learned being up at the state is the state has a lot of money right now. They're, particularly from the state, their money from gambling, that income is enormous. What the fees, you know, that they're collecting, and the marijuana money hasn't started rolling in yet. So, and the governor's trying to put, I've heard $1 trillion, but I know it's billions into the state trust fund reserve, which is not necessarily a bad idea, but so there's a lot of battles going on, I guess, is to follow that up. You know, I'll try to keep you all updated because I know that's a critical issue in terms of county responsibility. But, and then in terms of how that'll affect us, I think if that was to come to pass, I know administration has kind of planned for that, you know, in their budget that this may hit us. We would have an idea, and we could give you a better idea when we roll around to our next budget, what that rate increase, whatever it is, will be in terms of my department budget.
Yeah, yes, please. I think that would be really useful for the committee to hear. I'm just thinking the simple math of $158 an hour times the number of hours worked by assigned counsel is a pretty scary number.
Yeah, no, it's a significant increase, and we'll try to firm that up. I know I've talked before about a doubling, but I give you a stronger number. I can give you a small piece of good news. Now, I'll give you the bad news is, as you know, late last year, we got approval. We're generally not allowed with our grants and support we get from the state to supplant county spending. We can, there was a change, as I said, at the end of last year, we're given approval because of the increased discovery costs we see to supplant county funding just on the time spent on attorneys on discovery. We just submitted our first reimbursement request. It's actually pretty small for the first quarter, but that'll be increasing. But at least symbolically, we're starting to get a little money back from them on some of these increased costs. It's not as much as the 158 will cost, but we're starting to get a little progress on that.
Okay. No, I don't want to put you on the spot, but having asked the question, I'm curious, do you have any ballpark of how many hours we had from assigned counsel in 2022?
I don't. I know the number of cases, and I can get that to you. We don't track total number of hours. I mean, I track it. We have caseload standards, so I kind of track individual cases and attorneys, how they're meeting the caseload standards, just as a rough idea, which is kind of a quality control. Our attorneys putting in the time they should be on cases to see, if there's issues there. I can give you rough ballpark numbers. Our numbers have been, one of the issues I have when I sit down and look at that is our numbers have been distorted a bit since last fall because of family court cases and felony cases, the enhanced rate orders the judges are signing, which are typically at 150. We're getting a few at $100 an hour. So trying to go through and we have a little distortion there, but so I can give you an estimate, but it's probably going to be very rough on that. But it's something we're trying to track a little closer to give you an idea on.
Yeah, well, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that the state may force us into really looking at a public defender model.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that, and I've looked at that, and I'm happy to respond to questions on that. You know, I think I sent an email on that in general a month or so ago. I don't recall. As you recall, there was a study done 2000, the earlier part of this century, somewhere. I've got a copy for the county. Ray Schlaughter headed that task force and looked at it at that time. The less expensive model was the assigned counsel model. I think, I mean, we try to give you as much information on that. There are some other factors in there in terms of caseload standards and so forth. I can lay it all out in an email that'll impact that as well in terms of costs for the county. I'm not sure off the top of my head. It depends on what costs are, that it would still be cheaper or how much cheaper, you know, overall. But we can certainly work on once we see the numbers, try to give you, you know, some foundations for you to look, you know, work from if you're interested in that.
I would say yes. And I say that, you know, years ago, having worked in the assigned counsel program and taking cases, I think the assigned counsel model is a good one. I think you match individual cases to attorneys that have specific expertise, and you control caseload that way, and that people take cases as they can do them, rather than loading up a few individuals, a few public defenders who may be tremendously overburdened. With that said, if New York State is going to pass a gigantic cost onto the county, I think we do need to really examine it. So yes, if you could give us the underlying information, that would help us.
Sure, I'd be happy to. You know, I'm kind of inclined. I think, you know, the ACP model still comes out, but I also see it as my responsibility to kind of give you as neutral a number as the pros and cons of each model, you know, so you can make your determination and you know, go forward from there. So, you know, we're happy to do that.
Okay. Any questions for Lance? Comments? All right. All right, seeing none, we've breezed through our meeting today. I had approached Judge Cassidy and Judge Wallace to see if they'd be willing to come in and speak to us about the drug treatment court, as we had the report regarding the Ithaca Wellness and Recovery Court. And it turns out that the email address I was sending to Rick Wallace, there is another Judge R. Wallace somewhere else in the state who was getting my emails and not responding, because they apparently weren't that interested in coming and talking with us. But I ended up speaking with Rick for about an hour on the phone about drug treatment court. He'd be very happy to come, but he was unable to come today, and I think he has a conflict. We are going to be meeting on Tuesday in May. I can't remember the exact date, rather than Thursday, and that's when he holds drug treatment court. So we're probably talking about June, but I would like to invite them still and hear what they have to say. But yeah, anyway, upcoming meetings. So is there any other business to come before the Public Safety Committee?
Rich, could I add one thought on the predatory fee issue?
You can add an additional thought, Dan.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that when we collect a drug testing fee, it's $7, and that's actually a cost savings to the client versus going to one of the treatment agencies who charge 3 times that much. So if that's a factor in anyone's decision making, I just thought I would point that out.
Yeah, certainly if that is a cost that we have to pick up, I wouldn't be that excited to have the county paying a higher number. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Any other business to come before the committee? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Veronica moves, Lee seconds. All those in favor, show of hands. That's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.